Hey guys, I'm going to walk you through my 2019 Bass Cat era and a few of the things that I do to make it more efficient and better on the water. One of the first things that I'm going to show you is my Minn Kota Ultrex. This isn't a sponsor of mine, but I'm telling you right now, if you haven't seen the Minn Kota Ultrex, you need to check it out. Spot lock is incredible. I can tell you 100 different instances where I've been locked down on a spot and didn't have to use my power poles or didn't have to worry about blowing in on a spot. Definitely one of the best investments I've ever made, and they're actually really easy to install. Something else that I do though, and that I've used on my boats the last few years, is my Garmin electronics, my Panoptix. So this year I'm running the new Panoptix Live Scope, and the cool thing about Live Scope is it is almost a live image of what's in front of you. You can even see the tails of the fish in some sense of the word. You can actually see them swimming out in front of you. This last event that I fished on Sam Rayburn, I caught about 95% of my fish using my Panoptix forward view. The cool thing about Panoptix though is you can actually switch it to where you do down Panoptix as well. And it's as simple as just turning your transducer down or turning it forward. I keep mine forward most of the time because I really like to see what's out in front of me. Keeps you from spooking the fish that are out, 80, 90, 100 feet in front of you, and you can accurately cast to those fish and catch them in a lot of different ways. I run two 7610s up here. I have one unit that's strictly used for Panoptix Live Scope. The other I use for traditional sonar, down imaging, and my map. Something I want to show you though. So this is a little tweak that you can do for your own stuff whenever you're rigging your boat, especially putting your transducers on your boat. If you notice, I don't have zip ties holding my Panoptix transducer down. I have electrical tape, and there's one reason why. You don't want to crimp your wires by using the zip ties all the time. Sometimes the electrical tape is actually the way to go, and it gives you less interference. The more you crimp those wires, the more interference you're going to have. So next time you're rigging your boat, try just using the old school electrical tape, and you're going to save a little bit of interference on your transducers, and it'll help you put more fish in the boat. But let's do a little walkthrough of my Bass Cat era. This is, I think, my third or fourth era. Baddest boat on the water by far. This isn't wrapped. I mean, this is my traditional colors, my gray, my green. The cool thing about the era, it's a little bit smaller, a little skinnier boat, handles rough water like a dream, but it's still a 20-foot boat, and it's one of the fastest 20-foot boats out there. I'm telling you right now, I load this thing down with tackle. I have more tackle in this than probably two fishermen combined. Like, that's just what I do. Like, that's just how I've always loaded my boat. I want to have a rod and a bait for every single situation that I could even possibly think of. Some think that's the wrong thing. Too many options are too many options, but in my case, it makes me more sane. I need that so I can not worry about it. But the thing that I'm gonna tell you is this boat at Sam Rayburn on one of the calmer days that we had was running 75 miles an hour with an extreme tournament load. I don't run lithiums, I run AGMs. I run a full tournament load. I typically carry 30 to 35 rods in my boat, and that also includes full live wells, a Marshall, and 2 tanks of gas, 75 miles an hour. And the crazy thing is there's other eras out there that are faster than mine because they actually put lithiums and they do all these other little tweaks to it to make them faster. But the nice thing is I can still go 75 and I don't have to do all those different things. So I'm going to take you back to one of the cooler things that we have now is the new 250 Pro XS. This is the new 4-stroke 250 Pro XS, and it purrs. I've never gotten to run a 4-stroke, and I have always had to carry just an enormous amount of oil with me everywhere I go, and I always forget to get new oil or whatever. Now I don't have to worry about that. Like you have to change the oil after a certain amount of hours, but I mean, it's pretty easy. You turn it on, it goes, and it's super quiet. Like I can have a normal conversation with my Marshall or my co-angler without ever having to raise my voice or not be able to hear them because my left ear is kind of hard of hearing. So it makes it super easy. Attached to my Atlas jack plate. Hydraulic jack plates are extremely necessary in certain situations. If you're a speed freak, you need a hydraulic jack plate. And And the other thing is, if you fish in really shallow areas, a hydraulic jack plate will make your life 10 times easier because you can get on plane in super shallow water. Speaking of shallow water though, I would not know what to do if I didn't have my power poles. You know, I've been with power pole for actually since the beginning of my career. I mean, for a long time, 8 or 9 years. And the evolution of the power pole is just insane. Like, I remember when we had these real big round power poles and the rod hung out on the outside, and I mean, they were loud, and there was like 1 speed. Now they have 3 speeds, everything's wireless, and I mean, I can touch my button up there, barely touch it, and my poles just shoot down. I mean, it makes life so easy, and power poles do that for you. But hey, let's jump inside the boat real quick. I'm gonna show you a couple things that make me more efficient on the water. So I'm gonna show you a few things that you need to have in your boat at all times. You know, and you know, last year we all kind of saw what happened when Nick Kaler, God rest his soul, you know, at the FLW event at Lake Okeechobee. And that was such a terrible tragedy, but you know what it did is it really raised awareness for how we need to stock our boats and have the proper safety equipment for all situations. So in here I have 2 safety boxes. Both of them are filled with various things. One of them is filled with tools, and you always have to have a good set of tools for any kind of situation. Maybe it's a breakdown or you get a hook in your hand like I did last week. The other one is pure safety equipment. I've got a space blanket, I've got a water purifier, you know, like one of those life straws. I've got an extra days of food, I've got waterproof matches, I've got signal flares, I've got the little beacons where it'll start flashing if you get broke down. And I also have a tow rope. A tow rope is extremely important. If you break down and you need to get in somewhere real fast, gotta have you a good tow rope. And that's one of the most important things that you can have in the boat. Now right up here, I used to keep everything in this compartment, but in this compartment, I keep my Garmin Verb and my GoPro stuff. You know, I use a little bit of both. I prefer the Verb. The GoPro's in here, but the Verb stays in my boat, stays on my front, because per FLW rules now, we actually have to have a camera running every day of the event. So we have to keep stuff. So having some extra cords is always really smart. I've got something for everything. I just don't want to like get in trouble and get DQ'd or something. In here I also have another safety box that is stocked full of extra food, snacks, some more waterproof matches, a lighter, all kinds of little gadgets to make me more safe. You know, electrical tape, duct tape, everything that you can think of. You got to be prepared when you're on the water for any situation, and that's just a small thing in this boat, but it's so much beyond just the fishing aspect these days. You got to be careful when you're out here. You can't, you know, last year I was driving on Lake Cumberland, and I struck a log going about 65 miles an hour. I couldn't see the log, it was submerged, and it actually took off the midsection of my engine. Like the whole lower unit and midsection were gone, completely gone. When I hit the log, it spun us going 65, and luckily my co-angler and I didn't get ejected, but we were dead in the water. So like, we needed to be able to signal people and try to get a hold of people. Luckily we had cell phone signal. I also keep extra cell phone chargers in there just in case, you know, some crazy thing happens and you don't have signal or don't have a charge on your phone. You can do that. So here is kind of the business end of my tackle. So obviously I've got everything loaded in planos and different boxes for different situations. This is just my Florida setup right here. This is what I'm gonna have for Florida. And on this side, I've got the same amount of stuff. You know, I mean, I really keep a full boat, like I said, of tackle. You know, one thing that I really think I'm gonna be using a lot in Florida is the Game Hog by Strike King. This is just the baby Game Hog. I'm telling you right now, like the Game Hog catches them everywhere. I don't care if you Carolina rig it, Texas rig it. You can fish a weightless in some situations. It's just a really good bait that's gonna get you bit. And that's gonna definitely be, that's why it's at the top of my box right here, is that I've got it ready to rock. Another thing that I keep in here is extra life jackets. I've got an extra vest here. I've got an extra inflatable. Actually I carry about 2 extra vests. fire extinguisher push pole, a couple extra tackle boxes because you never can have enough tackle. On this side, I keep my rods, and you know, Brandon actually makes fun of me because I keep all my rods in my truck, and it's just a habit. That's just how I've always done things, and I always keep a handful of rods in my rod locker, kind of backup rods. I always have like a Ned rig rod rigged and ready to go because I just like to finesse fish, so I always have that ready to rock. You know, a swim bait, a single swim bait. I caught quite a few at Rayburn last week doing that. But I've got my red eye shad box, my topwater box. I've got some big worms in here. I've got tackle in pretty much every compartment in this boat. I just like to have a lot of tackle in my boat. But you know what? Beyond anything, you gotta always be prepared for whatever situation it is. Not even just the fishing, but beyond that, for the safety reasons. I carry a lot of tools for that sense. I have, you know, these are some of the best split ring pliers that you can use. These are made by Mustad. Amazing split ring pliers. You know, full size pliers. You know, you gotta have a couple of pair of full size pliers. I keep 2 in here. A hook sharpener, one of the most underused and underutilized tools that you can have in your boat. An extra pair of Mustad hook changing, or split ring hooks, and these scissors. So I bought these at the at Sportman's Factory Outlet there in Springfield. They were made by a company that went out of business, Gander Mountain. But these are like the best scissors I've ever used. And I bought like 6 or 8 pair when I was there. And that's just what I always use. And then below here, I always keep a Sharpie or 2, because for coloring your line, you always want to blacken out your braid. And some dye markers for dyeing your plastics. And I always keep my stuff just kind of all here organized. And last but not least, super glue. I use the gel. The liquid kind of gets a little bit too runny, and so the gel always tends to work a little bit better. But this is the breakdown of how I organize my boat. Now, it's a little bit more detailed than you were expecting, but I'm telling you right now, if you follow these few things, it'll help you out on the water and make you more organized and always a lot safer. So thanks for watching.